Yeah. All right, let's get the reading glasses here. We've got Nkosi's brand new book, All Is This. And I chose that for the title because that really was the first message that he shared with us, was all is this. I mean, that really is the core if there is a teaching, that would be it. That all, all is this. And there just aren't any exceptions. That's the part that the mind can't handle. That all is this really means all is this. And that one that thinks they're separate is an illusion. So let's take a look. And I thought I would share with you, this is the very first thing I ever saw Nkosi say. Nkosi wrote this on a post I made. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry, we were getting Zoom bombed and I didn't want to be interrupted. Okay. Nkosi first came to my attention in April of 2021 when he left a little comment on a post I had made on Facebook. He wrote, whether the me gets this or doesn't, it does not matter to this, because there's only this. All is this. That was so freeing. He didn't care if there was a me or not. He said it's irrelevant. Hallelujah. That there's no separation. So the words don't matter. And so it turns out there's never been a separate individual. What a relief. There's nothing to get rid of because there's never been a separate one in the first place. That's the message. It's so damn freeing. Because it really pulls the plug on seeking stat. Right? If there never was a you in the first place, and so you can say everything changes with that message. It's so radical, but in another way, nothing changes. There's still just what's happening. There's always been just what's happening. It's just that I was always taking it personally. I thought I had something to do with it. And then I had to worry about it. And then I had to worry about what others thought about it and what they thought of me and how I could fix it. Oh, God. It's all imaginary. That whole story that you're lugging around called my life is total bullshit. Really. It just doesn't hold up. It's just, there's nowhere where it's actually happening. It's an imagining. It's nothing wrong with it. It could be fun, but it's a lot better if you know you're imagining. I made a post a couple days ago. I put it like this: I said, there's nothing behind the thought. Thought isn't actually talking to anyone. So there's no denial. It's the beauty of this message. There's no denial that there's thoughts, but the idea that they're speaking to somebody, that's what's not happening. They're just thoughts, but they're not anybody's. They're not talking, they don't belong to anyone. They're not addressing anyone.
Hi, Michael.
Hi,
I'm
Fran.
new.
Welcome.
Today's my first day, and thank you, Don, who invited me. I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm thinking the thought is a conversation with myself, isn't it?
Well, you're not doing the thought. The thought is just arising for no one.
Is it not a reaction to the everything?
Well, it claim. I mean, it may claim to be. I mean, you could tell a story.
I'm trying to listen to my thoughts, but they're sort of a pattern. They're sort of a learned response
Mm-hmm.
to my exposure to things.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why are you so interested in those thoughts?
I can hear them and I don't ignore it. I mean, I kind of ignore them, but when I hear something that resonates, it stays with me.
Okay, wait, let me rephrase my question. Um, okay, who is interested in those thoughts?
Me.
Well, where's that one? Can you
Yeah.
can you find the me?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I don't mean to be redundant or,
No,
make
no, you can't go wrong. Yeah, there's no mistakes here. You can.
This is my first day too. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, is this Vanessa?
Yeah.
Hi, Vanessa. Welcome.
Hey. Hey. So one thing that's been coming up is I don't know where these thoughts are taking place. And the more I look, the more I can never find where they're happening. Anyone else find that bizarre?
Well, here's the interesting thing, Vanessa, is you actually can't find, you've never found a thought. Like you can't actually grab a hold of them, or actually, it's this elusive, slippery, wispy, it's there, then it's not there. But I'm interested in talking about the belief in thoughts, because that's the suffering. When I believe my thoughts, I suffer. So that's what we're looking into. What do thoughts have to do with you?
Yeah, where do they come from?
I mean, thoughts can feel really important, can't they? But where are they actually happening?
Find it. I don't think I need to find it.
Here.
You're pointing to your head, Fran?
Yeah, like, you put on some earbuds and you just hear it like in here.
Right. So
That's where I feel they're happening.
it seems like thoughts are in the head.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it feels like, for sure. So we're investigating that because our experience is that those are my thoughts. So I care a lot about them, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is there's no freedom in that. There's no one inside that body. That's the shocking news here. So everything's just happening and there's no explanation that I know of. And so that's the me is always looking for explanations, right? The me is running around wanting things explained, constantly. What's happening, what just happened, what's gonna happen. It's on this journey. And it's all imagined. And it's imagined by no one. And yes, this is an open meeting and everybody's invited to participate. So feel free to unmute and ask your question or comment.
Okay, can I can I run something down?
Sure.
So I'm hearing it in my head, my thoughts that are a reflection of what you're talking to us about. And that's where I would respond. But if I'm not responding to my own thoughts, where are they coming from? And isn't it kind of a circular reasoning kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get an answer. There's no answer to where thoughts come from. There's just no answer.
Maybe because where do thoughts come from is a thought. So it's thought looking for thought.
Can I kind of rephrase it? And it's not so much that I'm looking for an answer. It's actually something that I kind of use to bring myself back into the non-thinking. It's more because I can't, the words are just mouth sounds, kind of like that's kind of how I see words. It's just mouth sounds that lead to more mouth sounds.
Yeah.
But it's the appearance. So for example, if one of you says, imagine an apple, I can see it, but I could never ever find the words to tell you where exactly it's located, but it's just this appearance that's being viewed. Just fascinating.
Everything is appearing as thoughts. And if everything is appearing as thoughts, then, well, thoughts are beautiful. I am trying to uplift thoughts that they're from the everything. So, and we don't know where that is, and we don't know how that occurs, but we could say that it's, I'm going to use the word good as everything. It's good. It's like thoughts, good.
Well, they're not good or bad. They're just thoughts. Because you can have frightening thoughts, stressful thoughts, horrifying thoughts, funny thoughts, you know, insulting thoughts, right? So thoughts come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. That's not the problem. So there's your beautiful. Thoughts are beautiful. They're beautiful until they're mine.
But even I get what I get that. But even everything appearing as thoughts and appearing as me thinking they're my thoughts is still everything. So therefore, me thinking they're my thoughts and the suffering that definitely goes with it is that's not the problem. That can't be the problem either. That can't be a problem because it's everything appearing as that scenario.
The problem, Don, may occur when we want something different. The problem is when we start saying, I want this, but not that. But when everything just expresses itself and there is no evaluation or no preference, then there isn't a problem. Then things are just what they are.
Well, there's still no problem if things are the way they are and you don't want them to be the way they are. That's still everything looking for something else. So I'm trying to get to this place, but as I try to grapple with this message that if everything is everything and everything is beautiful, as I said, then as I am now, or as the world is now in quote suffering or whatever, that's got to be beautiful. I have a hard time with that, but I'm,
You're making a case that there couldn't be possibly a problem.
well, there can't be a problem because there can't be a problem because there's just everything. To have a problem, there'd have to be no problem in that thing. There could be no problem. If we think there's a problem, that can't be a problem either. Or it's coming from everything, so it's not a problem.
It really seems far-fetched, but I did ask Nkosi when the Ukrainians and Russia war started some months ago. And the horrors that I felt with all these people dying. And, you know, it's almost embarrassing to say, but he said, everything is beautiful and there is no death, basically. And wow, you know, and the same with Hitler, there is no death. This is just happening. And that's hard to grasp, I feel, because the me wants to say that is horrible. And I've been taught that that is horrible. But to take it to that extent, it has to be true. It has to be just the way he responded to me. I mean, I resonated with that, but wow.
Yeah, Nkosi can say that because he knows that there's no one here to do anything.
Yes.
There are no separate individuals anywhere. So everything that seems to be happening is this, not you, not me, this. This is the only thing that, so all is this. That's why the title of the book is so beautiful. Because the me has to reject that. Because the me feels like an exception to all is this. It's like, well, there's all is this and me. Or there's life plus me. But that's the illusion. There's just life. And it can appear as anything. It can appear as a thought. So those thoughts aren't your thoughts. They're just thoughts. Those feelings aren't yours. They're just feelings arising. And they're way more beautiful. Here you go, Don. They're way more beautiful when they're not yours, because then you can actually be with the thought, here it is, as it is. We could say that about this, that if I were to, I'm going to use a dirty word here. I'm going to use the path word. But if this were a path, it would be as it is. The path of as it is. Everything is just as it is. Oh, I'm going to get letters.
Some call it the pathless path.
Yeah, that's an oxymoron to try and just shut the mind down. Because what can you do with a pathless path? You can't do anything with it. It's not of use. Well, that's sort of the point. You're already what you seek. It's already, it never wasn't the case. So
Say that again. Say that again.
it was never, it's never been the case where there's been an individual doer doing anything. So nobody's had like a separate life on their own, as much as it's felt like that. And it turns out that there's just this appearing as everything.
And the thoughts that you have are not, how do I say this? Not a reaction to what's already just happened.
It can feel like it. It could feel like it, but no, there's no connection, Fran, between anything. This is a fresh new moment, and it's not connected to anything unless you tell a story about it, unless a thought appears or a story appears. That, you know, I was thinking about babies today. Like, think about a baby, it hasn't learned language yet. So a baby doesn't have the ability, there can't be thoughts. A baby hasn't learned to think yet because it doesn't have the vocabulary to construct the word, right? Because that's how our thoughts show up to us, is in words, as sentences, apparently. So that's why the baby hasn't any labels. It doesn't even know it's a baby.
Right. It learns expression, and then it learns constructive thoughts.
It's so innocent, right? That's the innocence of the baby. It's open to being taught. So that's why suddenly all these, somehow a life has appeared. Like somehow I found myself having a life. And if you have a life, now you've got work to do, right? Because now you got to make your life a success.
Is it just the conditioning that has kind of created these thoughts that make us think that we're separate, or that I'm me, I'm a me? It's just the
Yeah.
conditioning.
Yeah, exactly, Vanessa. It's the conditioning that we all seemingly seem to have gone through, but really you really can't say anything, because what is, when you go into it, what is conditioning?
Repetition.
Right, but I'm saying, like, they all fall apart. Like, you can say, okay, then what's repetition? You know what I'm saying? Eventually all the words, they fall apart. It's like attempting to answer the unlimited with a limited answer. Go ahead, Peter. You're muted.
Well, I was along the same lines. I was just reflecting when you said, well, it's conditioning. It's a concept to justify or explain how the me functions. It's a theory.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's an explanation. I'm this way because I was conditioned. Yeah. But it's like a dream. A dream seems real. Oh, let's see if we'll let Nkosi in. A dream seems real when you're going through it. But what happens when you wake up in the morning? And you open your eyes. Where's that dream? Where is it?
It kind of lingers, in my case, it kind of lingers around for a little bit, and then it just evaporates. It's gone.
But you
Mine
can't find it.
No.
So even 5 minutes ago, where's 5 minutes ago?
Yeah. No.
Hey, Nkosi, I have this great new book.
That's beautiful.
Oh, can you believe it? We talked about this like a month ago, and I said, Nkosi, you really should have a book. That's what and he agreed. He goes, yeah. And that's all that we did. We just said, yeah, there should be a book. I think it would be a good thing.
Yeah. Really, I appreciate your work and efforts. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
We were talking about, like, Michael, you said something about what happens to what was a few minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, and reflecting on it, there is a tendency to keep feeding these concepts. Like, I had something that was a little upsetting like 15 minutes ago, and somehow less so at the moment, but typically I keep feeding it and pulling it back in and keep it alive, and build a story around it, basically. And typically it doesn't feel too good, or, you know, I mean, I keep it alive, and then I complain about it and would much rather not have it. And yet sticky, it's sticky. And it feels good to let it go and to realize it's ephemeral, there's no substance to it.
Yeah, I was interested in my 16-year-old granddaughter, her response to the boyfriend broke up with her, and she was distraught and crying and feeling like she wanted to vomit and complaining and trying to talk to him and all of that stuff. And that was about a week ago. And then I saw her about 3 or 4 days later. And I didn't bring up the whole drama of the boyfriend. I didn't know where she was at with that, but she seemed back to her normal, happy self. And she said to me, out of the blue, she said, you know, Grandma, how I was on the bed crying to Mum when you left the house the other day. No, that was, you know, a few days before. She said, I got up off the bed and I said to myself, that's enough. I'm not going to cry about it anymore. And she just got on and got back into her own happy self. And she doesn't come to these meetings, but somehow she just said enough is enough of their thoughts, and away we go. So it's a bit like what you said, Peter, you know, they can be very sticky, but
Yeah.
do you have to buy into that? Well, I don't know. She's not buying into that. So I was interested in that response in one so young.
Beautiful. Nkosi, maybe, I'm sorry, Faith, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to also say, when you were speaking about thoughts before and how, where do they come from and they don't belong to you, etc. It strikes me that thoughts are innocent. They're just, there's an innocence about them that, you know, good or bad, but it's just, since I listened to this, I just think they're sort of innocent. They're just sort of a bit like birds, just doing their thing, aren't they? Mm-hmm. And there's no malice or intent or, you know, to harm anyone if you don't engage with them. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, maybe Nkosi, you could say a few words about thoughts and what a shock it is when you realize they're not talking to anyone.
Well, thoughts are not even thoughts. They're just nothing. As Faith has said, that they're innocent. They're just, you know, because thoughts themselves are just an expression of what is. So there is really no separation, you know. To say they are thoughts, there's just another label appearing in this. So they are not thoughts. Everything is this. No. And this is going away. It's just the way it is.
Wow.
It may appear as thoughts, it may appear as sensations, it may appear as somebody who's trying to get this. It may appear as somebody who's not getting it. So it's just what seems to be appearing, and it's beautiful. Thoughts, sensations, feelings don't belong to anyone. They just appear in this and disappear in this. The separate self is already not there. It's just an imagination, including what seems to be a life that belongs, that separate self thinks it belongs to it. That's life. The whole life is imaginary. So there's no separate self, and there's no life that is being lived by separate self. That's just what is. What seems to be a you, a separate you, is thought-based. And thoughts, when are looked for, they can never be found. Even the one that seems to be looking for thoughts is never there. So there's nothing here. So I can say it's nothing that seems to happen. So right now here, there's no thoughts, there's no story, there's no separate self. There's no time, there's no future, there's no past, there's no present, there's just this. This is beyond any description. So the one who seems to be looking for this is already this. So there's no real one. There's no real somebody who's looking for this. Everything is this, including what seems to be thoughts appearing and disappearing, sensations, wandering, confusion, frustration, joy, peace, love. Everything is this. There are no human beings here. It's just everything. It's just this. So there's just talking happening, listening happening, analyzing happening, wondering happening, confusion happening, happiness happening. And it's not happening to somebody. And nobody's doing anything here. It's just what seems to happen. So everything, what seems to be everything, is already nameless and empty. So as I always say that the separate self will never collapse because the separate self is already not there. If it seems as if something collapses, that's just this, or what is appearing as that. there's no real something that can actually collapse. If it seems as if there's an intense seeking happening, that's just this appearing as an intense searching or looking happening. So there's no real somebody who's doing it. There's no doer. The doer is already not there. So the doer can never collapse, can never disappear because it never even appeared. So everything is beautiful just the way it is. There may seem to be a question coming up and an answer being given. That's just wholeness, what is, or everything appearing as a question coming up and an answer being given. So there's no journey here. There are no steps. This is effortless and obvious for nobody. There's nowhere to get to already, because even what seems to be that is already disappearing as that. What is being searched for is already that which is searching. So there's nothing happening already. There's just this. Well, that's what seems to be coming up here.
So beautiful. You know, I was talking earlier about how a baby hasn't learned language yet. So for the baby, nothing's happening. He doesn't have any, he or she, the little, that one, it doesn't even have a he or a she. The baby's not thinking of itself as a he or a she. That's language. That was learned. Be like babies. They don't have a life. The baby doesn't have a life. It's not thinking, oh God, I gotta go to work tomorrow.
It doesn't even know that it's a baby. Yeah, it's just nothing.
Maybe it isn't a baby.
Well, exactly. It's a baby is just a label.
I'm hesitant to say this because I get it with the baby. But what came up for me was, but the baby doesn't have to go to work. You know, it cries when it's hungry, and then the nipple comes or the pacifier or something comes, and so the mind says, you know, what about paying the bills, and you know, what about taking care of your health and all that.
Wait a second, but Peter, whose mind is that story being told in? The adults or the babies?
The adults. Yeah.
So,
Conditioning.
so I'm after Nkosi spoke, I'm now officially going crazy, as I always do.
Good.
Yeah. So, so I'm looking at it. I am not going crazy. The way I'm looking at it, everything or all that is appearing as this thing going crazy. Is that fair to say? That I am not, I've got that I am going crazy. But it's not that. But there is a going crazy though, or those are the words I'm using. There is it is appearing as going crazy. That's the question.
You're definitely going crazy, Don.
You know, and yet there's something that draws me here. Amazingly draws me here to this. Whatever this thing's making me crazy is drawing me to it.
Well, maybe there's something that draws us to this, which is like a yearning to see that the baby is still a baby and has not become an adult just because the story of becoming an adult has seemed to appear. As Peter is saying, well, now I'm an adult, so I have to deal with all these things. I have to go to work, or maybe I start to feel like I'm going crazy, as Don's saying that. So the question is what happened to the baby? Did the baby go away and was it replaced by an adult? I'm suggesting, or we are suggesting, that it was replaced, appeared to be replaced by a story of an adult, a story of a world of going to work, and all of these other things, all of these judgments, good things and bad things, and all the questions and everything. But is that actually what is actually what here? Or is that all just a story that has appeared and that which actually didn't create a new reality? The reality is the same. It's the baby who doesn't know what it is. And that baby that doesn't know what it is what we are, is what this is. The story has appeared, but that doesn't change anything. This is it, just like the babies. We're all babies. There's just babies here.
It sounds great, Dan, and I get what you're talking about, and you're somewhat undermining a barrage of conditioning that deals with maturation and evolution in a you know, I mean, it goes against a lot of very deeply ingrained theories and concepts of how this all works.
Yes. And is that a story, or is there something more to it? Does that story have something called reality?
It's a story. It's a story that is, you know, a lot of people write about it, study it, and teach it. And so it's an important story.
Right.
A lot of people buy into it.
Well, that's the whole world. The whole world is the story. There's billions and billions of stories, right? And billions of aspects to every story. But what I'm suggesting, I think what we're suggesting here is to look and suggesting that that baby that is just what is, not able to make distinctions, not able to make stories, not able to know what is good and what is needed and what is anything. That is what we call what is. It's actually what is, and that the stories are simply stories. So that's the suggestion, anyway. Not to be believed, but to be tested. Yeah.
But
Go
the stories are also what is. So the stories are on an equal basis as the baby. There should be no difference between the baby and the stories.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. So, but the point is the stories are not for anyone. There's no one seeing the story and there's no one living the story.
I think what I'm hearing Don do, which is very interesting, is putting on the same footing a story and what is, like that there isn't a distinction there, that everything is a story and everything is what is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's true. That's the paradox. Well, that's why Nkosi is always saying there is no person, there is no world. It's this. And if we want to talk about it, we have to make some kind of language that makes two different things, and then so we can talk about it. But that's.
See, it's interesting because for me, I hold quite a strong distinction. A story is as opposed to what is, and that's been quite important here. And at the same token, of course, I can say, yeah, and the story is what is,
Right. Well, I mean, I would say very it's clear. I would say that it's both, and that's the thing that we can't. You can't understand that. It's a paradox. But
right, and maybe it's important to also add, and I think Michael keep throwing that in occasionally, that it's not my story. It's just a story.
Yeah, that's the point.
When we make it my story, it takes on a whole new dimension.
Well, yes. Well, it creates a me.
Right.
Right.
And then we have to look and see if that me actually got created. But if you see that, well, yeah, it got created as a story. Well, there is a difference there between the story and something that actually got created, because nothing is actually getting created.
I have a question. Without, say there were no words, could there be a story without words?
I think you got your answer.
It's a tough question.
There's only life. Whether you call it a baby or an adult or a flower or a mouse or a raccoon, whatever you call it, it's just life appearing as that. So I want to give one last plug before we sign off. If you haven't got your copy, a donation of any size, I'll leave a link in the description under the YouTube video. I did the foreword, a little 2-page introduction about how I first came across Nkosi when he left that little quote. And it just struck me that he just wasn't arguing about whether there was a me there or not. And so often it seemed like the me was the bad guy and that the me had to go before I could be free. And this was such a beautiful and accepting message that there's already not a me to get rid of.
Wow.
Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Yeah, I just want to repeat, there's no me to get rid of because you don't have to get rid of a story. The story never really shows up. It just appears as a story, so it doesn't need to be gotten rid of. And that story is what we call the me. It's what we call this world, everything. Anyway, and thanks for your work, Michael, on the book and everything.
Thank you.
Alan has been so quiet. Alan, you have a final word?
I do. Peter is a mind reader. Alan Watts, The Way of Zen, sitting quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes and the grass grows by itself.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Love it. That's lovely. That's great. Thank you, everyone, to each and every one of you for coming. We so appreciate and love all of you. And Nkosi, brother, as always, thank you so much. Have a great
Thanks,
night,
guys.
everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good
Night.
night. Congrats on the
everybody.
book, guys.
Appreciate it.